Okay, back with David Haynes and talking about the impacts of technology on what we do in the K-12 classroom and the relevance to the students and some of the changes that we need to make. And right now we've got substantial number of changes looking at. And, as far as looking at our teacher preparation programs, if, what do we need, trying to do to prepare young people coming into the teaching profession to be effective, and then some of the things the other way around, given the rapidity of technological change of what these new young teachers are bringing into the classroom, into the school environment, and then even potentially what kind of barriers they face if they try to do new things.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I've been thinking about, and this has come about from my exposure to the geospatial technologies and the Esri Corporation and visiting their user conference in San Diego, I have been thinking of the importance of getting teachers exposed to the industries.
Right.
If there is a way that in our professional development that we could get teachers doing job shadows and going out and visiting all kinds of different companies, from tourism to finance and banks and accounting firms to computer software development
Right.
companies and even the assembly lines where some of these things
Right.
are being built, that our teachers, especially ones that have not come from industry
Right.
of any kind, that to get them into those businesses. One of the big businesses where in my area of biology and health is Amgen, where they have the labs that develop cancer medications and all kinds of disease fighting medicines. If we could get our teachers actually experiencing what's happening in the quote unquote real world,
Yeah.
Getting them out there in business, I think that would be tremendous for how they could steer their teaching.
Right. Right. And on that note is that one of the things that I've come to the conclusion the last couple of years is I know there's a big mantra in K-12 education on the technology literacy gap of professional development, but I don't see our professional development structure being able to close that, and I've taken the position that what we really need is to incentivize getting professionals that work with those technologies day in and day out to be engaged as far as augmented instruction and coaching the teachers and getting individuals to commit to 10 to 15 hours a month to a school. And in that end is that we are drafting with some legislative staff or some legislation for the next session with the idea of giving the school districts the right or the ability to bring somebody without a teaching credential with that technology expertise to do that augmented instruction, if you want to say mini course, sort of the idea as far as like the college science courses where you have the lecture and many times the lab taught by a lab assistant.
Yeah, we have two organizations at school that bring in outside people. There's the mock trial,
Right.
and we have lawyers that come and coach the students and work with the students so that they can get a feel for the reality of
Right.
a courtroom,
Right.
and how real lawyers speak and
Right.
how they carry themselves. And the other one is MESA. And MESA is scientifically based.
Right.
It's a STEM program. And we have engineers come from the local Navy base. They come over and work with students in a club type of an atmosphere to instruct them and help them with projects.
Right.
And this is an informal way that we have, and it just requires these organizations
Right.
to volunteer, to send people that are volunteering. But if there's a way that
Right.
companies could be incentivized
Right.
to send their people
Right.
tax breaks or
Right.
you know that
Right.
they would be more involved, I think, in our educational system. I mean, an accountant, a student who's learning accounting can learn so much from an accountant who would
Right.
just come and sit with a small group of
Right.
maybe 5 or 6
Right.
for an hour versus a teacher trying to teach accounting for which they've never actually done.
Right. 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 And again, it's, is what I am one of the problems, and again, we've got that experience dealing with the modified flipped learning, and particularly at high school, is the accountability factor. So one of the reasons we're looking at this legislation, you've got our augmented instructors being able to be an instructor of record without a credential on a course tied in, so that, say, typically at the high school course for a semester is 5 credits, but you've got this mini course that's along with a parallel that may be an additional 1 unit. That right now, the way we've been doing it, it's enveloped in and embedded into your grade, and the kids can slack off on that piece. But if
Right.
it's a separate 1 unit thing that shows up, even if it's only 1 unit, it still shows up if they don't do anything as a separate F. So I see that as a motivating factor.
Well, and just in a positive way,
Right.
it's an additional grade.
Right.
That's a good grade. It
Right.
could be a good grade
Right.
that helps. If nothing else, it's in the record that they've
Right.
done it,
Right.
and that gives them again that intrinsic motivation
Right.
to perform
Right.
and learn it.
Right. It's been a good discussion. I thank you, David, for this time, and
My
enjoyed
pleasure.
as far as some of the conversations that we have had over the years.
Yes,
As far
absolutely.
as now being shared, as far as with members of our network and those also who tap these videos, particularly some of the legislative staffers that are beginning to get hooked on seeing what is really going on in the trenches.
And thank you for your mentorship and
Oh.
and help in all of
Okay.
this.
Okay, I thank you.